Les notes de patch, alors j'espère vraiment qu'ils ont des trucs intéressants parce qu'on n'a pas eu grand chose la saison, enfin l'update d'avant. En même temps on a eu la catin donc on peut pas trop demander non plus. Mais ce serait bien qu'on ait quelque chose de sympathique.
Welcome back, Warriors!
Oh la vache, la stage qui a changé.
It was so long though.
Sorry, I really killed your energy there. That was like that was awesome of me.
I'm trying to get all hyped for the. Like, we didn't go anywhere. It's okay. But you know what? We didn't go anywhere. We're here. We're here to talk more about patch notes. JC, we got some fun stuff today.
Yeah, and I got my trusty clicker.
Trusty
so I can go through the slides and tell people that they're going to be happy.
There you go. Right, let's do this.
Patch notes for this title update. So
Alors,
let us start
with,
I think, somebody that people have been asking for a little bit.
What's that?
Some SOHEI changes.
Oh.
Ah.
So just to go over them, but basically the
Eh ben voilà.
SOHEI is the hero's been out for a little bit. We've gotten a lot of feedback. We've been looking at the data.
Là c'est bon, là on est bien.
What we've the conclusion we came to is that the restrictions that we put on SOHEI initially, right, where you had to do light or heavy.
100% ça c'est imbloquable. Donc maintenant tu peux enchaîner toutes tes lights avec des heavy et toutes tes heavy avec des lights. Imbloquable. Et ta zone opener peut enchaîner sur ta zone finisher. Incroyable. Incroyable. Chaining timing to
the idea here is really
one frame quicker.
Opening up SOHEI's flow to make that work better. Now,
donc tu peux enchaîner un poil plus vite.
The mic is not working well.
La chain light.
I'm hoping. I don't know how much got cut out, but basically, yeah. So we want to change SOHEI's flow.
Ah non, pardon. Tu peux enchaîner plus vite la zone et la heavy finisher.
All right. So SOHEI's flow, yeah. So we wanted to make sure that it flows a little bit better. It's more interesting.
Et maintenant ta zone attaque en opener a une bonne vulnérabilité au guard break, mais bon, normal. Très bon changement. Très bon. Ça c'est un point positif garanti.
Front dodge, side dodge, whatever you're doing, the follow-ups to your bash, everything goes into anything there. So that's great.
Nice.
Mad Monk can now also change to Mad Monk Extender, so you can go funny helicopter zone. Great.
Ah oui, les hélicoptères, c'est parti.
Change the chain link timing.
Il va balayer le SOHEI. Hein.
Heavy soul attacks from Mad Monk and Mad Monk Extender. We've shortened it by one frame. And so what that means is that before, when you did Mad Monk into a heavy soul finisher, heavy soul attack rather, what ended up happening is that if you're...
Ils ont retiré les punitions en heavy garantie sur le heavy pari, j'espère qu'ils les remettent. Non mais Pingouin, t'as craqué.
So you would get your soul as a SOHEI, so you'd be moderately happy because you got a soul. But at the same time, your flow stopped entirely.
Yeah.
With this, if you buffer your attacks, everything goes well, you will not lose your momentum and you can keep going.
Cool, je vais enfin pouvoir jouer le SOHEI, acheter des one, jouer seulement 2 jours. Rip.
Going back to neutral, so that's a big part of it.
SOHEI va devenir un cheval. Non, il va devenir vraiment ultra viable, il va devenir relativement bon, je pense. Hein. Là, le SOHEI, il vient de prendre des places dans la tier list. Également dans la tier list débutant. Hein. Je remarque. On en parlera peut-être tout à l'heure.
So you can no longer throw out Mad Monk, hoping you'll trade with somebody, feint at the guard break, getting guaranteed guard break, get 3 souls. That was like a really easy way of getting souls, where it's not like that was not necessarily the full intention of this. Ended up working this way, but we're nerfing that a little bit to compensate for the other massive buffs that he has. Again, we're going to keep an eye on the data, keep an eye on how players play with SOHEI, see where that goes, and do more adjustments if needed, right? So there's a lot of stuff that I know people are playing are talking about, right, in regards to damage. Maybe the damage on the 7-4 strike is too high. Maybe damage on the other attacks are too low. It's things that we're looking at to make sure that... okay, yeah. So the thing that we're looking at to make sure that like the hero is balanced and is fun to play and works really well. So that's kind of like the idea here for SOHEI. But this is the first step we're taking. We'll see how it pans out and see where it goes.
Nice. Awesome.
Next, we have some changes for ARAMUSHA. So ARAMUSHA has been left in the dust a little bit. Not necessarily because the hero is bad, but just because the other heroes have gotten like a lot of big buffs, a lot of changes.
Les heavy finishers imbloquables, bien sûr, pourquoi pas.
to make the hero more competitive. It doesn't mean that he's going to shoot up the top of the tier list, but we wanted to make the hero more competitive.
Voilà, bah oui, non mais enfin oui, les V-finishers imbloquables, oui, parce que c'est la version facile de...
So the first big change is that heavy finishers are now unblockable. So just a quick reminder, to access your heavy finishers, you have to do...
C'est la manière facile de rendre un héros viable, hein, de toute façon. La deuxième coup de la zone peut maintenant être soft feinté avec les deadly feints, donc j'imagine que c'est les lights, etc.
400 ms lights in other stances. Right. The problem was that you kind of had to do it. That heavy was not threatening at all. There was no pressure from it. So by making it unblockable, now you have a lot more pressure you can apply, right? You can either let that unblockable fly. Hopefully your opponent...
J'avoue que ça va rendre le mix-up vachement viable, mais... C'est beaucoup de changements hein, pour un truc qui aurait pu au moins servir à densifier le testing ground.
So really this is about pressure from ARAMUSHA to let him use his...
Increased forward movement sur les heavy openers, sur les heavy finishers, sur les chain light infini. Les hitbox ont été ajustées. À mon avis, elles ont été augmentées. Les hitbox. Et Ring the Bell, donc le soft feint en bash des heavy openers, a été va avoir plus de range, va avoir plus de portée.
This is how it works. So zone attack, first hit, then you go second hit, softening the deadly feints again. Extends your chain, you get into stuff really well, so that's really good. Again, gives them more options, more reasons to do some of these attacks. That works quite well. Nice. We've also, as a bit of quality of life stuff that we've done on Hero, we've increased the forward movement on all of his heavy openers, all of his heavy finishers, and all of his infinite chain lights.
Voilà.
Suffered there a little bit where he was very, very immobile. So you would throw attacks.
On va peut-être commencer à se téléporter le mouchard.
It's really, really difficult to hit people. So this is a big thing that we've increased the movement there to give him more reach. It's a lot easier in group fights as well. You can target swap and hit other people. Before it was like very, very difficult because there was very little forward movement. That wasn't the original hero intent, by the way. That the designer, who is no longer working on For Honor, but the guy who was working on ARAMUSHA initially wanted to have a kind of like really tanky, immobile hero that had like fast dodges, had super fast side dodge recoveries. Everything was kind of baked in to have that sort of feeling of bursts of speed, but very, very low movement. And as the game evolved, that doesn't necessarily work as well as it did. So we're doing these kinds of changes. We've also adjusted the weapon trajectories to match the weapon visual better on...
J'ai pas trop compris ce qu'il voulait dire par rapport à l'intention initiale du design de l'ARAMUSHA, mais apparemment le designer qui a bossé dessus au début, il travaille plus chez Ubisoft. Genre, ah t'as designé l'ARAMUSHA, viré.
Externally, and even like when you're locked onto people and you target swapping, it gets a bit easier. And then last but not least, we've also increased the attack range on Ring the Bell. So basically,
effectivement les roulettes. Hein. Ce patch ne sort que le 13. Oui, effectivement, ça sort la semaine prochaine, jeudi prochain. Je tiens à saluer le fait que Ubisoft fasse une Warrior's Den une semaine avant l'update. C'était pas arrivé depuis littéralement l'année dernière.
It's not like egregious where you can just like be from super far and like land it, but it's high enough that target swapping it now is actually viable. These still need to be pretty close, but it is viable. Before, it was borderline impossible unless they were like really locked onto you and they were walking towards you and couldn't walk forward anymore. Then you could kind of do it. Now you're going to have a bit more leeway into when you can target swap, ring the bell, and have like that move specifically land. Gotcha. That's good there. Nice. And then last but not least, Pirate. So it's one line, but it's a big one. Yeah. So Grand Cavalier no longer cancel its recovery with a dodge. So that's side dodge heavy.
Ok, donc les dodge heavy de la pirate ne peuvent plus être cancel en dodge. Donc elle peut plus faire dodge heavy à l'infini. Donc elle peut faire une dodge heavy pour punir, mais après elle doit s'en sortir autrement. Très bien.
Removed the enhanced property on their side dodge lights. And that made sense, right? So you can still do them, you can still do that sort of stuff, you can still target swap it, you can still go into your dodge recoveries, and it works. It's a significant nerf, and I know some people wanted to have this functionality instead, but we went a different way, and it made more sense for them because they were light attacks.
Une populaire opinion, les idées de feed du Zerk sont bonnes, même si la réalisation est bof. Je pense aussi, Trino. Je pense voir leurs intentions, mais en termes d'exécution, j'ai un peu peur.
Every attacks are always enhanced. And we don't want to have like that weird inconsistency that doesn't make any sense.
Ça fait sens pour moi, les heavy imbloquables, Vareg a la même chose. Oui, Vareg a la même chose, mais Vareg, c'est pas Musha. Regarde, Vareg, elle a pas des soft feint à l'infini. Elle a pas une chaîne infinie non plus.
After your side dodge attacks.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of knock-on effects as to if we change this aspect, this problem pops up. If we change that aspect.
Par contre, la DA du PowerPoint est cool. Ouais, j'avoue, ils update.
We remove the ability to recovery cancel with a dodge entirely, but only for that attack. So pirate is still good. You can still do a lot of what you were doing before.
Elle a quoi la pirate? Donc avant, tu pouvais faire une dodge attack et genre cancel la recovery de ton dodge attack en une autre dodge attack ou un autre dodge en général. Et c'est plus possible. Pour éviter le spam de dodge attack.
You side dodge, target swap into the attack, and then it makes your attacks really, really, really.
Ratoon, c'était ARAMUSHA en mieux, maintenant c'est l'inverse. Je suis pas d'accord. Okay. Ça reste des héros très différents, je trouve. Enfin, pas très différents, je comprends où tu veux en venir, mais l'intention derrière la kata est différente.
Where we've done a change where there's the most impact, but at the same time, it's different than what we did for Orochi and Berserker. So it'll also let us compare the effectiveness of those nerfs and see where we can go from there.
Nice.
So that's it for patch notes.
Cool. Du coup, ça sort sur le cross-progression. Oui, à mon avis, ça fait trop longtemps qu'on espère que...
I'm hoping we're going to see less negativity around Pirate for this specifically.
Sure.
And we'll see how things evolve. But really, we're always keeping an eye on everything. We get reports from our amazing community team so that we get a lot of information from them. I'm always scouring Reddit. I'm always talking to people. We're always looking at things to see how we can improve the game.
Le nerf de la pirate ruine le personnage, à mon sens. Ouais, non, mais non, je suis désolé, Pingouin. Elle a d'autres trucs que sa dodge attack.
Have, like, more changes and more, and just add more slides in the PowerPoint. And I wish it was so. But
moi, le crossplay en campagne et en arcade. Ouais, ça aurait été cool, hein.
We're humans. We love what we do. But I'd rather we have a little bit less changes and our people are not burnt out, and then we can keep doing more changes than our people working too much. We have really passionate people. I'm one of them. And
peut-être une petite surprise à la fin, peut-être une mauvaise surprise. Donc, be careful what you wish for.
And so this is where we're going.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, JC. Appreciate that. And yeah, folks, we hope you're excited for these because, yeah, there's some really, really awesome buffs for both SOHEI and Musha.
My Dream, la cross-progression, ne comptez vraiment plus dessus. Ça aurait dû être la troisième phase du crossplay et ça fait 2 ans trop tard.
We have a wrap-up segment where we're going to kind of go over everything we talked about today. But we also have an awesome presentation of all the legacy Battle Pass weapons. So we're going to show that in a video coming up. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
All right.